we can just put on the laptop. Then what we can do is fiddle with him a little bit on the photo editing software.
The arm belongs to a woman of the Lambayeque people who once lived in what is now Peru. On its own, the tattoos are hard to interpret. But with infrared photo technology, Dr. Verano hopes to determine what the tattoo patterns mean.
So you can see them a little bit better, and there are some things that I'm beginning to see. You see that little curl there?
Yes.
That's probably a wave pattern that Lambayeque lived on the ocean, and their gods were gods of the sea, it seems. And so they do these wave patterns. And then there's a series of little repeating objects that could be birds or could be fish or something.
I can see how the infrared technology can give us a more detailed look at what's on her arm. Why is that so important to you?
My end objective here is to figure out exactly what's on her arm. Make it clear enough, hopefully, so that we can really recognize what the pattern is. What was the art? We can, in a sense, reconstruct why this was done. So we may have...
Dr. Verano hopes that by examining her tattoos, he can figure out why she wore them and who this woman was. The Lambayeque woman is just one of the many tattooed mummies scientists have unearthed. 7 years after Verano's Peruvian discovery, an even more amazing find emerged.
Well, he's particularly interesting because he's one of the oldest and most beautifully preserved mummies we have.
In 1991, hikers on a glacier in the Italian Alps stumbled across the mummified remains of a Bronze Age hunter, killed by an arrow more than 5,000 years ago. Dubbed the Iceman, scientists found valuable information on his skin. 59 meticulously placed tattoos of crosses and lines.
Certainly one of his great attractions is the fact that he has tattoos all over him. If you look on his back, here you can see a series of tattoos also on one of his knees. And what's interesting about him, of course, is he's not a burial. He wasn't carefully wrapped and buried. He died one day with all of his daily clothing, with his weapons, and so on. So it's kind of like a snapshot of his very last day.
Still, scientists were puzzled by what these tattoos meant.
But what interests me is the location of the tattoos. First of all, many of them would not be seen if he's wearing clothing. The lower back, the knee, the ankles, and when they did CT scans of his body, he has arthritis in his ankles, arthritis in his knee, arthritis in his back. And someone came to the very logical conclusion that perhaps these were tattoos done for therapeutic purposes. Either these actually helped him overcome some of his pain, or perhaps, like this one on his knee, this cross, maybe he touched it sometimes to try and give himself solace if it was bothering him, or it had some kind of magical significance to heal the knee.
Both the Iceman in Italy and the Lambayeque woman in Peru are shedding new light on why ancient people got tattoos. Though the marks are permanent and have lasted thousands of years, the techniques used to apply these particular tattoos died with the people. But we do know one ancient and gruesome way people got tattoos: by sewing tattoos directly into the skin. Evidence of sewn-in tattoos has been documented in Asia, South America, and the Arctic. European explorers witnessed this practice while traveling with Inuit tribes as recently as the 1700s. Inuits used needles made from bone and thread from animal sinew coated in soot. As the needle worked its way under the skin, the ash would come off, leaving a tattoo. Pressure on the wound kept more of the soot or ink in place. To find someone who will show me this technique, I'm heading to Santa Barbara, California. I'm going to meet up with Chris Helen, known as the Tattooed Professor. He's going to get a tattoo using an ancient technique that's been virtually extinct until now.
Now, tattooing was fairly common in Nubia, which was just south to Egypt.
Dr. Chris Helland is a professor of sociology. He also loves tattoos, and he doesn't just lecture on the subject, he wears it.
Some of my favorite tattoos is one that was actually tapped in here, and each letter represents a Buddha or a Bodhisattva, so that in many ways that's like a good luck charm.
What about your other arm?
The other arm, I've got some Buddhist material, but also Egyptian.
And it's something we haven't seen in a long time, right?
Well, we're lucky to have someone who actually specializes that come here to do the process for us, because it's actually very rare.
Chris and I are meeting up with Colin Dale, one of the few artists in the world practicing this ancient method of sewing in tattoos.
Hi, Colin. Nice to meet you.
How difficult is this technique?
Quite. There's nobody really doing it anymore.
To master this technique, Colin first read accounts in old journals, but then he had to practice this painful craft on himself.
Who was the guinea pig?
You're looking at him. Just doing a sketch with a pencil, now I have to go over it with...
Colin's design is called a solar cross. It's likely this is the world's oldest spiritual symbol. For Chris, it's a connection to his Norwegian roots.
Colin, I have to tell you, I'm really excited about getting this type of tattoo. It ties me to my grandfather, who was from Oslo, so it does mean actually quite a bit to me as far as my family heritage goes. So how's it look?
It looks awesome.
Yeah, it went on okay?
It's perfect.
Yeah. Right spot is bounced out okay. It's
Put a level on it and it's going to read zeros.
Okay, perfect. Good.
For medical safety reasons, Colin won't use the traditional Inuit tools of bone and animal sinew, since they can't be sterilized.
The autoclaves, they just go and make them all soft and gushy, so I use stainless steel needles and cotton thread.
What does that feel like as it's sliding through?
It hurts quite a bit. It's sort of like getting stitches. Getting stitches taken out would probably be a better way to describe it. Yeah, you can feel it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Ooh.
Wow.
This ancient tattoo ritual pushes the tattooed professor to the edge. I'm on a global trek to uncover the history of tattoos and get a few for myself along the way. Right now, I'm in Santa Barbara, California, witnessing an ancient tattoo ritual. Chris Helland, aka the Tattoo Professor, is going old school. Really old school. He's getting a tattoo done by having it literally sewn into his skin. This Arctic tattoo tradition all but died out in the past century. Colin Dale is reviving the practice, but few are tough enough to handle it.
But it's my body's starting to get used to it now. It took a minute. You know, those first couple were really a bit of a shock to the system.
It's pretty wild when the needle is coming through and it kind of gets stuck.
You have to give it a little extra push. I'm hoping we're almost finished because these last few are really starting to hurt. I'm surviving. Yeah, we made it.
How do you feel?
It's a bit of an ordeal, but it's gone well.
It's amazing how something that size can just make your entire body tired, isn't it?
It's an ordeal.
For the last part of the design, Colin's using the same tool a Stone Age tattooist most likely used, a shard of flint. It's like stepping back into the Stone Age.
It's the shard. I'm not actually cutting with it. It's not the blade that I'm using. I'm using one with a very good point, so that I can just make simple dots.
It's a punishing 3 hours, but finally, the tattoo is complete.
Well, man, it looks really good.
Well, thank you, Colin. I'm very happy with that.
Colin, outstanding.
Wow. That's
Thanks.
great. That's really beautiful.
Whew. Need some help?
Yeah. Oh, come on.
At first glance, it looks like a simple tattoo, but it's the unique and painful way that it's created that makes this solar cross so incredible. In nearly every place I've traveled, tattoo artists are keeping ancient customs from disappearing forever. Each culture has a different story, but the end result seems the same: preserving the past of ancient ink.